Welcome in, everyone, to the Barking Browns. I am your host, Casey Kenneman, and this is Know Your Enemy, the podcast where we do a deep dive and break down the Browns' upcoming opponent. As always, we're brought to you by our friends over at SeatGeek. You guys know the drill. Go to SeatGeek, punch in that code Barking Browns, and save yourself $20 off your first order. Cavs just tipped off. The Browns still have 5 home games. Foo Fighters were just announced to be here this summer, so go to SeatGeek, save yourself some cash, and do something awesome with that cash. All right, we got the Patriots coming up. That's the enemy. We're staring right down the barrel of the 5-2 AFC East leading New England Patriots. So we got to break this down. So in order to do that, I have to bring on a guest. So our guest this evening, he is a contributor at the Pat's Pulpit on SB Nation, and he is a co-host of Pat's Nation. Without further ado, let's just welcome him in. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Matt St. Jean.
How you doing?
Hey,
happy to be here.
Welcome to the party, man. How's it going tonight?
Very good. I'm excited for. I think this is going to be an interesting game on Sunday. I at least know on the Patriots side of things. I think there's some real intrigue to how this is going to go.
Yeah, it's kind of incestuous. You know, you got Vrabel, who was here all last year. He knows our roster intimately. He knows Jim Schwartz. They've worked together back in Tennessee. You know, that's a lot of there needs to be some sneakiness, especially if the Browns plan on hanging around this game. As much as familiar as Vrabel is with the Cleveland Browns. But let's start there, man. You guys are, in my opinion, from the outside looking in, I don't know how it feels for Patriots fans, but it feels like you guys have arrived ahead of schedule. You know, in May's second year, Vrabel's first year here, 5-2 AFC leading, AFC East leading. How's it feel, man? What's the vibes over in New England?
It feels incredible. As a Boston sports fan, it's nice to get to be insufferable again. You know, we all love that up here. No, I mean, it is definitely a little bit ahead of schedule, assisted by a very easy schedule so far. And I think a lot of fans are aware of that fact, but you can only play who's on your schedule. And the Patriots have outplayed every team that they've played so far, except for the Raiders in week 1 and what looks like a real outlier performance. And this really should be 6-1, if not for the fact that you turn the ball over 5 times against the Steelers in a game that ends up coming down to the wire. So, you know, this team's playing much better, improvement across the board, and then the real star of the show here is going to be Drake May. People thought that he could be good. I don't think anyone thought he was going to be this good this early. I mean, there were people, like respected voices in New England, that said he should sit for all of his first season because he was that raw. I was not one of them. I thought he could start from day one, but there were people who thought he shouldn't even be starting until this season. And the fact that we're, I think, less than 20 games into his career, and this is the kind of production you're getting out of him, incredibly, incredibly exciting.
Yeah, if you think about it, he's kind of an outlier because if you look at the quarterbacks that have the most success in the NFL, they usually at least have 30 college starts. But the unicorns don't have to do that. You know, and I think that's what we're seeing in him, because it is coming along, and the NFL does a terrible job at developing quarterbacks. But to be able to learn on the fly in the NFL, it just shows you how special he can be. But let's take a step back. Go ahead.
For the QB development, I feel like it's kind of a two-pronged thing. First, you have to be good enough to actually get on the field without getting benched, and then you have to have the capacity to learn from what you're seeing and doing out there. And there's just not a lot of human beings that can do the first part, let alone the second.
Yeah, you're getting swimming lessons, but Jaws is also in the pool with you. You know.
Yes, exactly.
It's rare to someone succeed in that element. But let's just take a step back first. So, life with Vrabel. You know, you obviously, Emperor Bill was there for eons, and then you had Mayo for a brief little stint there. But now you got Mike Vrabel, and it feels right. Just from looking on the outside, it feels right. What's life like with Coach now?
Awesome. He's been an awesome presence for the team. I think he brings a leadership style that you can tell is influenced by Bill Belichick, but he is very distinctly his own, which I think differentiates him from other Bill disciples who have gone elsewhere. And I think what you've gotten from Vrabel so far is what you were hoping you were going to get from Gerard Mayo last year. Mayo just didn't have the experience. He didn't have the connections around the league to bring in a staff. So they have 3 offensive line coaches this year. You've got a top guy and 2 assistants working with them. That was Vrabel's doing to say, we need manpower on this. They have overhauled the analytics department in the front office, and we actually have an analytics department now. It wasn't really the case before. And the culture, the way he treats players, the mic'd up segments that they put out there. You got guys running into the end zone for touchdowns. They're coming off the field, and he's grabbing them and saying, "All right, number 3, number 85, they had a good block for you. Go congratulate them on it." Things like that. Just the little things to get guys to buy into each other. One of the other notable things, Andy Borregales, rookie kicker, misses a field goal in week 2, but then hits one at the end when you need it, a long one. Vrabel gives him a game ball. Other coaches might be saying, we're going to cut this guy because we can't trust him right now. Vrabel's giving him a game ball saying, we believe in you. So, that's not something Bill Belichick's going to do, that's for sure. But you see the same toughness and high expectations that I think you got from Bill.
Yeah, and I think he keeps things on edge. Like, I think it feels like he's even coaching up your beat reporters.
He is.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. He is. And he's not afraid of anyone. You go back to the days when he was a player here. Tom Brady talks about how Vrabel was the only one that was never afraid to talk trash in practice to him. And it's like Brady's out there as, multiple times Super Bowl MVP, and Vrabel's still going after him like he's, like he's hazing a rookie or whatever.
Yeah.
Like he's just not afraid of anything. I think that the fact that he puts his all into everything and expects that from everyone, but will also give you a ton of respect as part of that. Like, that's what Bill Belichick did. It's just a very different way of getting to that point in that relationship with your players that I think works with the younger generation of guys coming up.
Yeah, it feels like he craves competition, and the players respect the way he goes about it. So it feels like you guys have all the buy-in right now. Like everyone's
100%.
fully bought into the process.
Everyone. And it's like, Stephon Diggs is a guy people were worried about as a locker room presence, and he's been a locker room leader. And he's a guy who, like, he's blocking, and like that's one of the guys that Vrabel's like celebrating his blocking. I mean, this is the star receiver. Everyone's worried about being a diva. So when you're getting that out there, you're in good shape.
Yeah, that's I think that's the main takeaway is, when you get 100% buy-in on a coach's rookie year, not rookie year in total as a head coach, but with you guys, it allows the program to kind of just lift off the ground. Well, let's talk about the reason why it's taking off. And we talked about him a little earlier, and it's Drake May. I think that's the story. Like if you look at quarterbacks when they come into this league, we saw the tools last year. The wins weren't there. I mean, in fact, you guys have more wins already this year than you had all of last year. But you saw the tools. But it's like, okay, can we whittle that down? Can we carve that into a winning formula? And you're seeing it because defensive coordinators get that whole offseason to dissect what this rookie does well, what he does bad, and how do we force him to do what he does bad? It feels like he has the answers to the test already before he shows up. He's very well prepared. And some of that might be McDaniel, which we'll get into here in a little bit. But just tell me what you're seeing out of Drake May in his second year.
Well, I think you got to go back to week 1 here. And like the Josh McDaniels offense, it's a double-edged sword. He doesn't make things simple for you. It's going to be very complex. You're going to have the whole field open to you. You're going to be able to audible into anything. There's going to be an answer for everything. All 5 receivers are going to be live on every play. So it puts a lot of stress, and the quarterback's going to call the protections. So there's a lot going on mentally for the quarterback. It's a learning curve, but if you can get it, everything's available to you, and you can stretch a defense in every way imaginable. Week 1, May looked overwhelmed by this, and I think a lot of people were like, okay, he might get there, but it's going to take a full season under Josh McDaniels to get this. Week 2, right away, he gets it, and he's been on ever since. And it's not perfect, but it doesn't have to be. With his athleticism allows him to make up for any bad decisions, but his biggest weakness, I think, coming out of college was probably his accuracy. He has a tendency to not set his feet and to just miss on throws that he shouldn't be missing on. And you saw it week 1 because he didn't know what was happening. By week 2, he knew what was happening. He's accurate on like every throw. He's one of the completion percentage leaders in the NFL right now. He just set the Patriots regular season record for completion percentage in a game, ahead of Tom Brady last week.
Say that again. I want everybody to understand what you just said. Say that one more time.
He set the Patriots franchise record for completion percentage in a game, completed 21 of 23 passes. It's crazy. So the accuracy is there. He's seeing it. And he can make every throw. You can roll him out, and he can make throws on the move. He's been particularly dangerous rolling out because he can make the deep throw off of it. He can hit that shallow throw even when he's running and give the guy room to run, or he can just take off and run with the ball and score on it. And it just puts a lot of stress on a defense. I think if you are a defensive coordinator looking at him right now and you're trying to game plan, what you're going to look for is that he has a little bit of a tendency to take off and run early, especially if he gets a little bit confused. He knows he's a good athlete. He's going to try to run with the ball. Last week, he got pulled for 3 snaps because he got tackled and hit his head and had to get checked for concussion. And that's not the first. I think that's the 3rd time that's happened to him in his career. And he, completes 21 to 23 passes. Probably should have attempted a couple more passes, just leaving some throws out there because he's pulling the ball down and he wants to run with it. So that is probably what you're trying to take away. But even with that, he's still going to move the ball on you. And it's been 6 games in a row now of him playing at what could be an MVP level if he's able to do this for a full season.
Well, let's move on to Josh McDaniel. We talked about him briefly. For me, he's like just the epitome of sometimes guys are just better at being coordinators than head coaches. When he's had the chance to be a head coach, it hasn't gone so well. But when you give him, the canvas in which to paint an offense, that's a complete work of art. We saw what he was able to do in the Brady years. A lot of that gets chalked up to Tom Brady, rightly so. It's Tom Brady, but you're seeing it now. He's got a second-year quarterback. I wouldn't even know how I would describe the skill positions at this point. Like they have a bunch of. I see some B+ players. I don't see a star out there. Stephon Diggs isn't the Stephon Diggs from 5 years ago, but like it's a machine at this point. So what are you seeing from the play designs, the creativity, and the play sequencing out of McDaniel so far?
I mean, there's an answer for everything. I think the disappointment on offense is this team can't run the ball. Ramondre Stevenson has been really up and down and some real fumble issues this year. Yeah. So I think they were hoping their identity was going to be able to run the ball and then throw off of it and make things easy for May. The running game hasn't come around at all. A lot of reasons for that. That's young guys, new guys on the offensive line, guys just older and not good enough right now. So the burden got shifted to May pretty early. You're just going to have to throw the ball. Like week 1, he threw it 40-something times, I think, against the Raiders because that's just what was working. They're going to hit you with a variety of things. Like I said, they're going to roll May out a lot. They're going to get the ball to Stephon Diggs in a lot of situations. There's going to be a lot of, there's going to be 2 concepts on a play when you're passing, one on one side, one on the other side. You pick which concept you want to read based off of what the coverage looks like, and then just read, the 2 or the 3 man combination from there. But they've been working some of the deep shots into the offense the last couple weeks. He hit a couple against Tennessee. You hit a couple against New Orleans the week before that. That's new. You would typically expect a lot of like screens with Josh McDaniels. That's another thing they have not been able to get going this year. That's Trevion Henderson being a rookie. I'm sure we're going to talk Trevion Henderson against Quinshon Judkins here is an interesting matchup. Yeah. Henderson he was basically not used in the offense last week. They haven't been able to figure out how to get that going. And screens are an area where you'd want to use him, but that hasn't worked so far. There's going to be a lot of play action. There's going to be a lot of motion, and a lot of things that you're pulling from the things that May did in college when it comes to like rolling him out and getting him in space to do things. A lot of familiarity there. And then May really likes throwing the tight ends. So you're going to get the ball to Austin Hooper and Hunter Henry a lot of times underneath, or like they're going to put the 2 tight ends on the same side of the formation to give May something there. And then the last thing, Kayshon Boutte has kind of emerged as a legitimate number 2 wide receiver, I think, this season in a way that people thought he could be good. No one thought he'd be this kind of guy, and he's catching everything they throw to him. He has I saw a graph on Twitter the other day that shows that he's averaging like some of the deepest routes in the league. He was not a guy who was supposed to be a burner.
Yeah.
He tested poorly at the combine because of an injury, and the speed is back for him, and he can accelerate and threaten down the field. And they'll use that just to stretch the field sometimes, but May will throw it every once in a while.
I will say this. If Austin Hooper gets more than 10 yards after the catch, my fan base will lose their mind. That dude led the universe catching it and falling down. He just falls down wherever he catches it. So knowing us, he'll get when he'll rumble in from about 30 and will implode.
Well, and it's a lot of like possession type guys on this team. Hooper and Henry are both that at tight end. Mac Hollins when they use him. Kayshon Boutte, the routes that they throw to him, there's really not yards after catch opportunities. So if you're looking for yards after the catch, it's going to be Pop Douglas. It's going to be Stephon Diggs. Those are the guys that are getting those looks. But and Kyle Williams is a rookie, hasn't really gotten involved yet, but he's fast. So in theory, he can do that if he gets some opportunities.
Yeah, I loved Williams coming out. Is Mac Hollins wearing shoes yet when he's not on the field?
On the field. Off the field, I don't think so.
Yeah, that man's a different person. Breed. Yeah, it's got to be fun to cover someone like that though, who's just a curveball at all times.
Yeah, he is.
Well, let's talk about a different rookie. Let's talk about Will Campbell. When Will Campbell was coming out, like I thought he could be a dominant offensive lineman, but I saw him as more of a guard, and I was wrong. He appears to already kind of be a dude, man. What are you seeing out of him?
I will say I don't think that he has been tested that much so far. I think they've made things easy for him, but for the most part, what they've asked of him, he has excelled at. He struggled against Pittsburgh. He actually had a bit of a down week last week against the Titans. Outside of those two, he's been like solid starter level left tackle, which is like 3 orders of magnitude better than what the Patriots were getting out of that position last year. So massive improvement. He's been good. He's going to be his first real big test this week. This is an offensive line that grades out really well overall, but I think a lot of that is it's going to be how they how quickly May will get the ball out, how they're able to move the pocket, the play action. There's a lot of things built in to protect the line from having to block for a long time. And you mentioned one rookie. I think you got to bring up a second, and that's Jared Wilson, who's playing left guard. Mm-hmm. The whole left side of this line, it's both rookies. That has been an issue at times. They don't pass off line games particularly well at this point. It's very up and down, and sometimes they can get walked back into the quarterback. Sometimes guys can get around Will Campbell's outside edge. So like that's a speed rusher. Is it Alex Highsmith in Pittsburgh? I think who. Yeah. Or who's the backup there? Who?
Nick Herbig.
Yeah, it's Herbig who was giving Will Campbell trouble. So that type of guy can give him some issues too. He looks like a guy who can be a long-term starter at left tackle. I think the question now is he going to be a league average starter, or is this a guy who can ascend and turn into a Pro Bowler?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good place to be as a rookie to already be out there and doing well. Like when I watch, it's like, okay, now he was in college. You saw that where he could get beat to his outside shoulder, and that's kind of what made me think he could be a guard. But that Vrabel obviously has the faith that he can get the job done. But like you said, Myles Garrett's that's
unlike
it's quite a test, Well,
and you mentioned the outside shoulder too. He sometimes has issues with the inside shoulder. Because he oversets to the outside, and I think that's been a weak point. Yeah, that B gap to the left side where sometimes Will Campbell gets beat inside, and your guard you don't really trust to pick up extra rushers and stuff right now. He's still learning. I think pass protection wise, that's the weakest spot. And then it's like Garrett Bradbury's your center. He's been better than expected this year, but he's a replacement level veteran. Michael Wenu is up and down. Morgan Moses is like a solid B- at right tackle.
Yeah, that was my question. How's old man Moses holding up out there? Because he's been doing this for a long time, man. But he's a starter everywhere he goes.
Yeah, he's just solid. He's the exact type of Band-Aid at that position they needed. Because for all the talk about the tackle position in New England, and left tackle has been an issue, right tackle was actually an even bigger problem for them last year. DeMontre Jacobs was the starter. He was horrendous. So you've gone from a D at both tackle spots to a B- at both tackle spots right now, and that's massive.
Yeah, trust me, as someone who is our offensive line is horrendous, and we would kill for C- D tackles right now. Where if you've watched any of the tape, man, it's not going well on the outside.
No.
Well, you mentioned his name earlier. It's Travion Henderson. If you looked at the preseason, it looked like it was trending to where he was going to be a guy. Not necessarily a focal point, but he was going to be a contributing piece of this offense. And it's just, being a rookie, but he was kind of lauded coming in as being a full tool belt. Like if it's pass pro, whether it's, running outside zone or whether it's being effective in the passing game. And he really hasn't been getting his opportunities. Is there anything you're hearing behind the scenes for why that's not happening for him?
I think there was some reporting today that he's just not picking things up as quick as they'd like. I think the single, one of the biggest factors for him not getting on the field is that he was great in pass protection in college, and it has not translated at all. He has been very bad at it. He's improved, but he's still not good. And Ramondre Stevenson is excellent in pass protection. That's one of the strengths of his game. So this was a guy you brought in anticipating that he could help you in passing situations, but you don't necessarily trust that you can even put him on the field in those spots. Then the offensive line is not getting push. So there's a lot of plays where no one loses a block, but the run just kind of goes for 3 yards up the middle and dies out there. And Ramondre Stevenson has a little bit more vision on those to try to find a seam or the ability to get low and push and get an extra yard or two. And Henderson right now has just kind of been like one cut and go and just firing full speed into a pile and stop there. So it just has it. He's a home run hitter. You need to open lanes for him, and they just haven't been there.
Yeah, in the preseason, after that first kickoff return, every Cleveland fan was like, we drafted the wrong Ohio State back. That was like the immediate thing, especially because Quinshon was going through some off-field stuff. We couldn't even get him in the building. And that sentiment carried at least long enough to get Quinshon back on the field. And I think my fans are a little more happy with the back we selected. But I do think that if you look at the vision for someone like Travion Henderson, because he is a home run hitter, man, he's explosive. But a veteran head coach like Vrabel, if you can't pass pro, it's going to be hard to get you on that field on a regular basis.
Well, especially when Ramondre Stevenson is so good at it. Like we're not talking about, all right, one guy's a C plus and the other's a C minus. We're talking about like an A and a D here for difference. And then, you look at that role in the McDaniels offense of passing back. James White, who everyone knows and loves, essentially redshirted his first year in the league. Shane Vereen, who was the guy before that, essentially redshirted his first year in the league. So it's a position that's complex because, like I said, McDaniels asks a lot of you mentally. So you have to know the pass blocking rules. You have to be able to execute them. You have to know the route tree so you can go out there and run routes. And there's going to be a lot of adjustments and a lot of, all right, they're playing this coverage, now I'm running this route. And then the actual run concepts can be complex and diverse as well. And Henderson, I think, is more of a gap scheme runner. And the zone stuff has just worked better with the offensive linemen the Patriots have right now. Jared Wilson's a little bit smaller. Garrett Bradbury's a little bit smaller. Will Campbell's still getting that NFL strength. So if you're running to the left at all, like it kind of has to be a zone run if you want success. They've had some success with the power runs behind Michael Onwenu and Morgan Moses on the right side of the line. But even that, like Michael Onwenu is fine, but nothing exceptional. Morgan Moses is fine, but nothing exceptional. So they've only been hitting one or two of those a game.
All right, let's shift our focus to the defensive side of the ball. Led by Terrell Williams, who was with Vrabel forever in Tennessee, defensive line coach. Actually, was Harold Landry's coach while he was there, and who they brought over. But this defense feels like it's, outside of Gonzalez, there's no like superstars, but boy, they're solid, man. When you watch that tape, man, runs are dead on arrival. Like running against this team it looks like a nightmare to do.
So I got to start off at the top. First, it's actually not Terrell Williams right now. He is away from the team. He got diagnosed with prostate cancer, actually, and is going through treatments right now. So linebackers coach Zach Kerr is the kind of interim defensive coordinator. I don't think he's been given the title, but he's calling the plays. And Terrell Williams had an unrelated health scare over the summer as well. So Kerr was doing this over the summer, and then Terrell Williams came back, and now things have shifted back to how they were.
Prayers up, man. That's scary. That's some scary stuff.
It is. He's in the building right now. It sounds like everyone's optimistic, but scary situation. Zach Kerr, I think, has done an admirable job of stepping up. Mm-hmm. The defense has been weird. I believe the Patriots have been one of the best defenses in the NFL after the offense's third possession of the game. But for the first 3 possessions of the game, they've been one of the worst. So, like your opening script can really get them. The Titans scored on their first 3 possessions, I believe, including a long touchdown pass from Cam Ford to Shamir DK. The Saints opened up the game red hot. The Steelers did it. Almost every team has scored on their opening possession against New England this year, and then they settle in. Part of that, the defensive backfield has been a mix when it comes to the health situation. Christian Gonzalez missed time. Carlton Davis has come out of a number of games because he's been banged up. Same with Marcus Jones. And those are their 3 starting corners. This, I believe today is the first time that none of them have been listed as limited or out on an injury report this season. So they're finally getting healthy. Free safety Jalen Hawkins also has missed time, and I think he's going to be back this week. So they've had to play a lot. I think they want to play man coverage, and they've had to play a lot of zone just because of the situation in the backfield. The front 7, Robert Spillane, captain, starting linebacker. I'm sure you know him from his time in Pittsburgh. Yep, he also had like 10 missed tackles in the first 2 weeks of the season, and basically he hasn't missed one since. So it took him a little bit. Now he's tackling well and providing the run defense. I think what makes this defense go is that defensive tackle, where you've got Milton Williams, whose name you probably know if you watched the Super Bowl, and Christian Barmore, who missed most of last season with blood clots. He only played 4 games. He is back, and he looks like himself. And you've got 2 Pro Bowl caliber guys at defensive tackle, and like Kairos Tonga is their nose tackle, and he has been excellent in that role. Joshua Farmer and Corey Durden are the 4th and 5th defensive tackles, and all 5 of these guys are going to play. They all have played well. Milton Williams had some big sacks last week, and then Landry has been excellent this year. He's really bounced back and played like a better player. And Caleb Von Chasen's the other edge. He has been up and down, but he's AFC Defensive Player of the Week. He had 2 sacks and a touchdown last week off a Cam Ward fumble. So some players there who have, a lot of inconsistency on defense, but a lot of hope that things will improve as the season goes along.
It sounds like the theme is settling in. They after they find their groove, like they put a lid on. I mean, you're 5th in the league in scoring, and you're giving them 19 points a game, and the Browns don't even average 19 points. So it looks like tough sledding. And Vegas agrees with the over/under being 40.5 and New England being 7-point favorites. So it's a tough challenge, man. They're playing well. When I was watching the tape, man, it looked like running the ball between the tackles was impossible against the teeth of this defense.
Yeah, and that's they want their front to penetrate and just get upfield and then have the linebackers clean up the mess. And it's worked. This has been one of the best run defenses in the NFL. I think 3rd in yards per carry against. You see 3rd in rush yards per game against there. They have not allowed a running back to go for 50 yards on them yet this season. So that means they've been very good there. It's just the coverage has been inconsistent. And I think health is part of that. And then they also, schematically, they want to blitz a lot. They're going to bring a lot of like fire zone stuff and simulated pressure. And they want blitzes to come from everywhere. And that means you're going to get beat for big plays sometimes because the opponent's going to see it coming and they're going to hit it with the right answer. You just hope you're going to get more big plays than you allow. And for the most part, the season they have, it just means you have some ugly moments like Cam Ward throwing a 50-yard touchdown on you or Spencer Rattler dicing you up for a little bit.
Yeah, that doesn't inspire me with hope. We won't even throw it deep. Let them take those shots. Sounds like we could be in for it, man. The matchups here. We talked a little bit about Miles and Will Campbell, and Browns fans will remember when we played the Tennessee Titans in 23. Vrabel, he will dedicate a lot of people to Myles Garrett, and so I imagine obviously Stevens will be Ramondre will be a guy who chips a lot. You got multiple tight ends who will do the dirty work. Let's talk about what other matchups besides that are you keying in on this game?
I'm looking at just the mental between like Drake May and Jim Schwartz. Because this is going to be the best defense the Patriots have played this year, and they're aware of it. They've talked about that. They know that this is a test. And I think for May, it's you don't need to get an A on this test. You just have to pass it. You don't have to do anything special, but just don't make mistakes. He hasn't thrown a pick in like a month. He's not really throwing the ball into traffic. So I think it's going to be about, being able to see what's going on the field and make good decisions consistently. Because even with what they're going to bring to the table with Josh McDaniels to protect against this defensive front, I'm sure pressure is going to get home. He's going to get sacked. Yeah. There's going to be some rough moments, and it's how can you weather that without, compounding errors. I'm looking at, anyone on the Browns defensive line against Jared Wilson. He's probably been the weakest link in pass protection. And I expect any blitzes or any pressures are going to try to come through that area. So how he can handle that, I think when the Patriots have the ball, that's what I'm looking at. When Cleveland has the ball, it's going to be the run defense against Quinshon Judkins. This is probably the best back Patriots have played so far this year. And for as effective as the run defense has been, one thing I noted before coming on here, they're third in yards allowed per carry, but 16th in PFF run defense grade. So there's a disparity here. Like some people are watching the tape and saying they're good, but not great.
Yeah.
The stats say they're great. So where do you fall in there? It's a good opportunity to prove yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you want to beat this run defense, you have to win to the outside. I think that's the key.
Okay.
New England's secondary isn't always the best at, they'll rally to the ball, but they're not always going to finish the tackle. Marcus Jones in the slot's undersized. And if you can, we're going to try to penetrate on you. So if you can just get around that, you can hopefully get big plays on it. That's how you'd like to beat that. So this will be a good test of that. I think big picture for the Patriots, we face you guys, and then we get Bijan Robinson and the Falcons right after. So these two running games in a row is going to be a very good learning opportunity for the defense. So I think
those are stiff tests right there at the running back position. But when you said the mental game between Schwartz and Drake May, and this is just coming from our perspective, Schwartz is ultra aggressive, and we've been having this. We're in year 3 of the Jim Schwartz experience, and we just finally saw our first off-speed pitch last week. He plays a ton of press man. It's real aggressive. Mm-hmm. Last week he only played 9 snaps, and it was a lot of zone. But that was against a Dolphins team. It's not good. But I just wonder if what that means going forward for Jim Schwartz and his play call, because they finally switched some things up. Traditionally, Schwartz doesn't like to blitz. He'll show some pressure, but he was actually bringing people from all over the place. I don't know if he'll feel confident enough to do that against Drake May. But we finally saw something different other than just straight up press man. So it could be an interesting chess match from that angle.
Well, I want to see, with that, if you do come out and play press man, how do the Patriots receivers handle that? Stephon Diggs and Kayshon Boutte have looked really, really good so far this season. Can they do it against a more difficult opponent? I think is going to be a big aspect of this. And and also I'm curious what you guys bring out, because Patriots haven't faced a lot of man coverage this year because Drake May can just take the ball and run if you turn your back on him, and he'll pick up big plays. So that chess match, what you decide to do, and can the Patriots receivers beat man coverage if they get it?
Yeah, and Browns just traded for Tyson Campbell, who's by definition he's a press man corner. It's what Denzel excels at. So I think that would be their strength. But when you're playing an athlete like Drake May, like you said, you turn your back, man. You're just letting them move the chains on you.
Yeah, when I look at the rookie at linebacker, Schlesinger.
Yes,
very fast. I was watching the tape. He reads things and gets to the point of attack so quickly. So I wonder if we see just a lot of cover one man with him as a spy on Drake May, which, learning opportunity for May. You might have someone who's a very good athlete out there who's able to run you down if you try to take off and run. What do you do now? How do you respond to that?
From your lips to Jim Schwartz's ears. I hope he hears that, because Schlesinger's instincts, he's the total package. I was shocked when they drafted him. I didn't think they'd value linebacker at that spot, but he's everything that I thought he could be already.
He stands out on the tape when you watch it, which you can't usually even say about linebackers in general. And for it to be a rookie who is that good at processing things mentally, he was at UCLA, right?
Yes, sir. 1-year starter, was a special team player up until that last year. It's
Quick side note here. I was in LA back in August, and my dad and I went to a UCLA Utah game where they got their butts kicked. And after seeing that, and the coach got fired after that.
Yeah.
And you look at Schlesinger, and it's okay, this is a guy who clearly, if he has gotten to this point with the coaching that he got in college, the sky's the limit for what he can do.
Yeah, they gave him the green dot already. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
Yeah, that doesn't happen for rookie linebackers. And the Browns, from the Browns' perspective, if JOK can get healthy and then pair him with Schlesinger, that would be a very dynamic linebacker core right there.
I have one other quick matchup question. Yeah. Is David Njoku playing this week?
We don't know. He's tough. He might make himself go, but the Browns have a bye on the other side of this. So if it's borderline, they might try to save him from himself.
Yeah.
But the Browns have to look at this like this is the Alamo. I mean, because of the games they gave away earlier against the Bengals and the Vikings, you're sitting there with 2 wins when you could realistically have 4. Now, the Browns had a tough schedule to play out with. There's some wins to be had on the back end of this. You play the Jets, you play the Titans, but you've painted yourself into a corner, so they might pull out the stops, but as tough as David is, man, his knee looked pretty banged up to me, so I'm not too optimistic myself.
We've had a hard time covering tight ends. This has been like we just don't have a guy in that role. Kyle
Mm-hmm.
Duggar's still around, but he's not who he used to be. We
Yeah.
got rid of Jarrell Peppers. Right now, they're asking Marty Mapu, I think, to play that role. Who he was a linebacker safety hybrid coming out of Sacramento State in 2023, one of Belichick's last draft picks here, and I think he's a third year in the league, finally starting to settle into a role. But that's been the weakest link I think for New England's coverage is tight end position.
Harold Fannin Jr. is who you need to watch out for then.
Him as well, yeah.
He's a giant slot receiver, basically. They label him as a tight end, and he's a willing blocker, not a good blocker. But they've seemed to, with Gabriel's lack of aggression down the field, they seem like to target Fannin between the numbers there. Now it's time for the uncomfortable part of this conversation. What is your score prediction for this game?
I think the Patriots win. I do think it ends up being an ugly, low-scoring game, and I think from the Patriots' perspective, like this does feel like a little bit of a trap game, and I think the mindset's to just get out with a win. It doesn't really matter how. I'll go like 20-13, something in that range. Patriots take it. I just think Drake May is too much. Like there's a massive disparity here at the quarterback position between the two teams, and defenses can win, but very rarely do things go that way. I think if the Browns win, it's going to be because this defense forces a number of turnovers.
The Browns defense is not the same defense on the road as they are at home. At home, it's a problem. If this game was at home, I'd be more optimistic than I feel right now. But they don't perform the same on the road.
For what it's worth, the Patriots have been the opposite. They have recently seemed to play better on the road than at home. And we just won 3 in a row, all on the road. And now we're coming back home. So I think there's a little bit of, do they finally feel comfortable at home, take the foot off the gas a little bit? Or if if Cleveland comes out to a hot start, you guys are able to score in your first 2 possessions and you force a turnover in there. And now the Patriots got to play from down 2 possessions against that defense. I think that's how you create an upset here.
Yeah, that's the script for the Browns defense. They can play with the lead, but they so rarely have them. They kind of, you know what I mean. With this offense is last week is kind of misleading. They scored 31 points, but that was just them taking advantage of short fields that the defense gave them. When it's up to the Browns offense to move the ball between the 20s, it's a struggle bus.
When I saw watching the tape, there was at least one scoring drive that had 2 or 3 big defensive penalties too, which, credit to the Browns offense for taking advantage of it. Mm-hmm. But, it's different from picking up all of those yards yourself.
Yeah, big difference. Yeah, the Dolphins seem to like to shoot themselves in the foot, which I'm sure as an AFC East guy, I'm sure that's fun to watch every now and again.
It's very nice, especially our last game this season's at home against Miami. So that.
I would like to see the odds that McDaniel's the coach or Tu is the quarterback now, because I feel like that's got to be near 0 at this point.
Yeah, I feel like those odds shouldn't be on the board at this point.
Yeah, well,
they're not going to be here.
I'm so honestly, I thought there was a chance that McDaniel was going to be gone Monday morning, but
I'm shocked he wasn't. Which it almost seems like he's trying to get fired at this point. I don't know what's going on there. I wish we were playing Miami this week. I'll tell you that much.
All right, man. I ask every guest this. I need to know your New England Patriot Mount Rushmore, man. Who's on your Mount Rushmore?
Well, it's got to start with Brady and Belichick. Those are the 2 givens that they're going to be there for everyone. I think after that, there's a lot of different ways you can go. A lot of people I think would have Adam Vinatieri on there for multiple Super Bowl game-winning kicks. There's a lot of older, like pre-Belichick era guys that you could put on here, or even a guy like Drew Bledsoe. Ty Law has had his big moments. I think for me, Mike Vrabel is going to be on there because
let's go.
Super Bowl touchdown catches in 2 different Super Bowls. Strip sack against Carolina in 2003 in that Super Bowl. Made a lot of big plays in the early dynasty, and now coming back as a coach. I'm going to give him that nod. And that there were only 2 players in the dynasty that won Super Bowl MVP that were not Tom Brady. One of them was Deion Branch. The other one's Julian Edelman. And I'm going to give it to Edelman, I think, just for being a career Patriot and what he means to the culture. I'll give him that nod.
He's definitely a vibes guy. He's a glue guy in that locker room.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I actually enjoy listening to him tell stories, or do impressions of Randy Moss. And I'm enjoying the post-playing career of Julian Edelman.
His podcast is a really good listen to.
Yeah.
Games with Names.
Yep.
And they've, I've listened to all the ones that bring Patriots guests on. I haven't listened to all the others, but they get some really good interviews out of that. So I'm impressed with them there.
All right, Matt, man, you've been awesome, man. I appreciate you coming on and dropping knowledge for us, educating this fan base on the New England Patriots. Let the crowd know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. At Matt St. Dream is my handle, a nickname that has stuck with me now for a while. I'll write on Pat's Pulpit, and then on YouTube, on the Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel, our show is the Patriots Nation 1. So me and Pat go twice a week. We do one show during the week and then one post-game show. So if you're interested on Sunday to see how Patriots fans are reacting, whether it's a win or a loss, you can come on over and check out our live stream, probably late. We usually do the late night show, usually at like 10 o'clock Eastern.
You guys know the drill. Go follow him and give him support. I know he's the enemy this week, but he was a great guest. And, man, thank you guys for watching, man. The most important thing you can give anyone is your time, and we can't thank you enough. Continue to support all the handles. Go to our TikTok, go to Twitter, our YouTube, all the follows we can get. Do all the things, like, subscribe, notifications. Just do it all. Just do it to make sure those buttons work. I'm not even sure they work. So go find out for me. And we'll see you guys next Friday. You guys know the drill. Know yourself. Know your enemy. Good night.